What are we looking at, Katie? What do we got there?
75, 76, continues
Oh,
and rising.
woo,
Are you nervous, Jamie?
incredibly.
We're slowing down on the people logging in, so I think it's time to kick off. So welcome everybody to the Return to Study webinar session this evening. My name is Katie Potts. I'm a student recruitment coordinator in Melbourne School of Engineering, and I'll be your moderator for the evening. Before we begin, in the spirit of reconciliation, the University of Melbourne acknowledges the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea and community. We pay our respects to their elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples today. Thank you for joining the webinar. We are thrilled to have audiences joining live from different time zones in both Australia and overseas. We are recording this session so that it can be accessed afterwards. Oh, what's this one?
Sorry, Katie, that's my slide. That's just the horrendous fear of people returning to study, but I'm sorry, I didn't mean to surprise you with that slide.
So the format for this evening, after Jamie threw that curveball at me, throughout the session, you can type your questions in the Q&A window. These questions will be answered by my colleagues. They're based in the Melbourne team. They will be off screen, but they might pop up now to wave and say hi.
Hi.
So pop those questions into the Q&A box throughout the session, and they'll be answered live during the session. We also have a panelist here for you tonight to give their expert views to you throughout the session as well. So first will be the presentation from Professor Jamie Evans, Deputy Dean. He's going to tell you a little bit about himself, his work in Melbourne School of Engineering, and the questions you all have about beginnings in semester 2. Following his his presentation, there will be a Q&A with Professor David Shellcross and current Masters of Engineering student Nadine, current Masters of Information Technology student Pamela, and an alumni member, Kapil, who is a graduate sustainability consultant at WSP. I'll now hand over to Jamie so he can give you a bit of an information presentation.
Cool, thanks so much, Katie. So as Katie mentioned, my name's Jamie. I'm a professor in electrical engineering and also Deputy Dean Academic in the Melbourne School of Engineering. And thanks so much for joining in this webinar this evening. So if you're here, I reckon you should be possibly in one of these programs, except actually now I see it. If you're in this one, whoop, hang on a sec. Let's go here, pen, here we go. If you're in this one, that's actually not great, this one here, because that one does not exist anymore. So hopefully no one out there is in that program. If you're interested in telecommunications, then the Master of Engineering Electrical is for you. So you should be in one of these programs, one of the graduate programs in engineering and IT within the Melbourne School of Engineering. So a little bit about the Melbourne School of Engineering. Actually, we are old. We started way back in 1861 when the first 15 students enrolled, and the first engineering course in Australia was at the University of Melbourne. I think we also had the first female engineering graduate in 1942, and that was Diane Lemaire, I believe. And then in 1955, as well as the engineering, there's also a rich history of computing. And we had CIRAC, the first Australian-built computer housed at the University of Melbourne. And then on the more teaching front, we had the first Australian university with engineering courses accredited by both EURACE and Engineers Australia. And EURACE was, we got a European level, European masters level accreditation for our Master of Engineering programs, as well as the traditional Washington Accord accreditations from Engineers Australia. And look, our researchers over the years have done a whole lot of amazing things in sort of pioneers and breakthroughs in next generation internet technologies, in the bionic ear, nanotechnology-based drug delivery, global water resource management, the bionic eye, carbon capture and storage, and a whole lot of other things. So the people who are teaching our subjects are usually working at the cutting edge of research in some area as well. And at the moment, we have nearly 11,500, 12,000 students, and it's a really good mix between undergraduate and graduate. And that's a little bit different to a lot of other Australian universities in that, I guess in some sense, we're a very strong graduate programs, and our professional entry engineering is a master's level accreditation. We don't have a Bachelor of Engineering, and that makes us very significantly graduate in focus. And we have students studying from over 100 different countries with us. We're also really proud of the fact that we're 33%, above a third, in fact, of our students are female in our graduate programs. And having so many students over the years, we've got a network of over 30, I think it's well over 30,000 now, alumni in 110 countries around the world. And maybe in your chat, you can tell me, if I can get my pen going again, where that is. So maybe we can have in the chat guesses at where that blue dot is. Obviously, we have alumni at that blue dot. So let us know where you reckon it is. Now, I think one thing that you might have lots of questions, and I really want to get to the panel to share their experiences with you, but obviously the whole situation in the moment and what's happening in terms of face-to-face and online learning is one of the really big areas that you must be thinking about. So I just wanted to go through and talk to you a little bit about what is happening. And essentially, especially given what's happened in the last week or so, what I can say is that nearly all of our subjects will be wholly online in semester 2, with only a small number of subjects that could not really be delivered online at all, having on-campus attendance. And that's certainly true for the start of the semester. We will look for opportunities for optional face-to-face activities as the semester progresses, but that doesn't mean anybody has to attend campus. So that'll come up a little bit later as well. And look, where we can, we've tried to have some of our capstone and project students that you'll get to in sort of the last year of the Master of Engineering and Master of IT and so on. So some of our capstone project students have actually started to return to campus this week. And that's if their capstone really requires access to research labs and facilities to be able to complete it. So that's sort of the situation. And that means that for basically most students, it's going to be mostly an online learning experience throughout semester 2. So in terms of the learning, that means the subjects, the lectures, the tutes, and even the labs and practicals will in one way or another be delivered online. And the good news is we've now actually had some practice at that. So semester 1, you know, all of a sudden 2 or 3 weeks in, we had to do this very rapid transition to online. And so we had to learn a lot of things very quickly. But the good news is most of our staff now are an awful prepared enormously more than really we were at the start of semester 1. So you'd be able to benefit from that experience into semester 2. And I guess it's saying, well, that's fine, our subjects are online, great, but but what else would we be missing out on? And I think it's really important to note that most of our internships were in fact able to continue remotely. So we've been putting up a huge effort into growing our number of internships and placements, and we really were able to transition nearly all of those to remote mode, and indeed we'll be doing that again in semester 2. And there's all sorts of other networking events and extracurricular activities that we've worked very hard to transition to online, just like this event tonight, which would perhaps normally have been on campus, but we realise there are all sorts of advantages of now running it online, and that people from all over the world can join us, which is fantastic. So the clubs and societies are still working hard to do things. Our networking, our MSc experience program, it's all going. And the university has this thing called a virtual campus as well, which really again tries to make sure that the online experience is as rich as possible, both inside subjects but also outside. And I just wanted to show you, I took a few snapshots of an intranet site, which is our Teaching and Learning Innovations in Engineering and IT. And this is a site that's really aimed at supporting our teaching staff in transitioning to online. And so I think why I think it's interesting is obviously where we have software is very heavily used, and that transitions really well to online. So all of our software-based labs and experiences and things, that works really well. But you'll even find, you see in the top right there, the home labs in structures. So people are also working to say, well, what can you actually do at home? I know in electrical engineering, in 5 subjects, we're sending out kits to all of the students in those 5 subjects so that they can actually do the same labs that they would have done here, but do them at home. And so lots of things like that are happening, whether it's videoing the labs, but you have to read and find the data yourselves. So people are working really hard to make the online learning experience as rich an experience as possible. So the labs, the tutes, the lectures, how do we do it? What's the best way of keeping people engaged? And here's other things that talk about how do you still get learner to instructor? So student-teacher interactions, student-student interactions, and student content interactions in a way that still makes it engaging and interesting. I mean, personally, in my teaching, I found it a really, really fun semester, despite all the craziness. And in fact, you know, I received a lot of feedback that it was some of the most engaging experiences that students have had during their study here, even though it was this very strange thing that was mostly delivered online. And oh, there's a photo of me, and I don't know if you noticed anything strange about that photo, but you might notice that I've got greeny blue hair and beard, and that's because I lost a bet with my students this semester that if anyone got more than 80% in one of the progress tests, I would dye my hair blue. Well, I could only find green, and I did spray paint my head, and you see the problem with not having that much hair is that it just went straight through to my scalp, it run down into my eyes, and I had to wash it out. But the things I do in my teaching, I tell you, I wanted to be true to my word, so I did dye my hair blue momentarily. Okay, so as we've mentioned, most students will continue to study online in semester 2. So if you are not in Melbourne, you do not need to attempt to travel to Australia. You can continue your studies online until restrictions are lifted and the university advises you that you can come to campus. So that's really important. That's for exams. That's for all aspects of it. All the assessment and everything will be delivered online. And that online teaching and assessment will continue as long as necessary, okay, for students until if you're unable to return to campus for any reason, that online teaching will continue. And that's certainly, say, semester 2. What about semester 1? You know, it's really hard for us to predict what will happen, but I can certainly say if for some reason you're not able to get here, then we'll support you, no question at all. But let's really hope that by semester 1, 2021, things have changed. But I think no one really knows at this point in time what's going to be happening. So I think this is important to talk about as well, and maybe not something we often talk about, but all of your different options that you actually have if you have uncertainties about whether it's going to work for you, whether you should commence or not. So let's have a look at some options. So one thing you could do is commence your classes online, continue throughout the whole semester, and away you go. But another option is that you commence your classes online, but you decide it's really not working for you. Then you could defer before the census date, and that's typically about 4 weeks into semester, maybe later this semester, we'll see, but that's certainly an option. You could start, it's not working, then you can defer to a future study period. And another option is to defer your offer now. There's no extra cost to do this, and if you have a scholarship offer, that will be deferred too. So we want to be really clear and upfront about those different options that you have. Of course, we'll do everything that we can to make option 1 a really good option for you. Also, in terms of post-study work visa, we don't have an official word on that. However, the Education Minister is still considering this matter, and we're expecting an announcement in the next few weeks. But certainly the Minister doesn't want international students to be affected by COVID-19. That's the intent. Okay. And please, with any further questions on all of those things, please shoot them through on the Q&A. Okay, so if you do have any questions, you are going to get in and enroll, as we hope you will, then some important support services. So Stop 1, connecting students and services for all of your administrative and information services, enrolment services, skills and development, support services, and so on. There's a wealth of information and support available to you through Stop 1. And if you're enrolled and you're ready to go, then the engineering and IT orientation is on Monday, the 27th of July. And that's a welcome session. You'll get to meet your course coordinator virtually, hopefully meet other students virtually, and even join student clubs and societies. That's coming up in just under 2 weeks. Look forward to seeing you there. There's a special scholarship offer. I don't often tell people about this. It's a very special deal that the University of Melbourne has with the North Melbourne Football Club. That's an Australian rules football team. It's my team. They're the best team. And I can tell you that all members of the North Melbourne Football Club receive a full scholarship in the degree of their choice. You show me the membership card, ladies and gentlemen, I will look after you. I'll get you a scholarship. I'll get you H1s all the way through. You'll pass with flying colours. Just show a membership to my beloved North Melbourne football team. But look, we want to hear from this panel, all this expertise. They've been here, they've done that. And I'm going to unveil them one by one. I'm not sure if we can actually do this. They sort of show themselves as I reveal their names. That would be magnificent if we can pull that off. So first we have Professor David Shawcross. There he is, ladies and gentlemen. Associate Dean Academic in the Melbourne School of Engineering, and of course a mature age student. We have Capel, who a Master of Engineering Mechanical in 2018. So he's a recent graduate out there working in the field. And now some current students. We have Pamela in the Master of Information Technology, and we have Nadine in the Master of Engineering Civil. Here they are, look at their smiling faces. So we really want to hear from them. So I think what I've got to do now, if I can manage this, is stop sharing the screen so that you can see everyone properly. Whew. Here we go. Look at that. I can see all their lovely faces now. All right. So are you ready, panelists, for some hard-hitting questions from me tonight? I can see you are. You're not scared at all. I'm going to start with a relatively easy one. What is the capital of Peru? No, that's not the first question. I want to start by getting you to introduce yourselves. Tell us what you're studying or what you studied or where you're working, a little bit about your journey so far. So I'm going to do it in the order that I unveiled people. So let's hear from David first.
Okay, well, welcome everyone. I'm very pleased to talk to you this evening. So my name is David Shellcross, and as Jamie said, I'm the Associate Dean Academic for the Melbourne School of Engineering. I started out as a chemical engineer and did a 4-year Bachelor of Engineering, then decided to do a PhD, then decided to leave Australia and go to the US. I worked at a couple of universities over there, University of California, Davis, and then Stanford University, which is quite well known, before coming back to Australia, joining CSIRO for a short time, and then coming to Melbourne in 1990. So quite a long time ago now. In that time, I've worked here in chemical engineering in lots of different roles. I've worked in a whole range of different areas, from water purification. In fact, that was an exciting project because back in the day, NASA was actually using it to model their how they're going to supply water to the Mars mission spacecraft. Other stuff I've done is around understanding how we can get better energy or energy more efficiently out of rice husks when we burn them. Anyway, that's enough about me, Jamie.
Thanks, David. Kapil.
Hey guys, my name is Kapil, as Jamie mentioned. So I came to Melbourne. I was initially an international student, but I came to Melbourne in 2013, did my Bachelor of Science, and then continued on to do my Master of Engineering degree, both majoring in mechanical engineering. After that, for a brief time, I worked at Accenture as a technology analyst, working predominantly more along the side of artificial intelligence and IT. I know that's not my major, but then from the start of this year, I started working at WSP as a sustainability consultant. And what I'm kind of doing over here is purely related to thermodynamics, and kind of using all that knowledge that I've kind of learned over the past 5 years, to make buildings and infrastructure more efficient and more sustainable when it comes to energy use. Thanks.
Cool, thank you. And then who was next on the list? Let's go to Pamela.
Thanks, Jimmy. Hello, everyone. So I'm Pamela. I'm an international student from China, and I did my bachelor's degree in commerce at the University of Melbourne back to 2014. After I graduated, I became a data analyst, worked for the utility industry in Melbourne for 2 years. And while I was working, I just became interested in coding and programming. So that's why I decided to go back to uni. And now I'm doing a master's degree in information technology. And also currently I'm a student ambassador at Melbourne School of Engineering. And also I work part-time as a peer mentor leader at Faculty of Science at the university as well. And over the last semester, I was applying for a lot of graduate jobs. So I just received the offer. So next year I'll start as a software developer at a tech firm.
Great, fantastic, congratulations.
Thank you.
Nadine.
Thank you, Jamie. Hi, I'm Nadine. I also started at the University of Melbourne as an international student. I came all the way from South Africa. I started in 2014 studying a Bachelor of Environments with my major in Civil Engineering Systems. I then went on to start my graduate Masters of Engineering in Civil. So while doing that, I also managed to do an internship with Acciona on the Melbourne Metro tender, but they unfortunately didn't get it. So I got a graduate position with the company I'm at now, WBHO Infrastructure, and I'm currently working as a site engineer on one of the major road upgrades out in the western suburbs. So for the past, I just took a break from study for the past semester. But last year I was working full time and studying full time. So that was that was intense. So yeah, that's me.
Thank you. And we don't recommend working and studying full time to anybody. That must have been a horrible semester. So maybe we'll kick off as well with some questions about exploring the difference between undergrad and graduate study, whether there is really any differences, and what advice you have for people to be successful in graduate study in particular. So I don't know if Kapil would like to start on that one.
Yeah, sure. Well, I'd say the biggest difference for me in between my undergraduate and my graduate studies was I was a lot more focused as to where I wanted to work and what I wanted to do after university in my graduate study. Whereas in my bachelor's, it was more about experimenting and like finding out what I really wanted to do. So even though my major was mechanical systems, like right off the bat, I did also do breadth tracks and electives in artificial intelligence, coding, like software development, electrical engineering, civil, and then a little bit of marketing and management as well. So I was like kind of all over the place because I didn't really know what I wanted to do. But then I kind of came full circle in the end and chose mechanical engineering for my graduate study as well. And in my graduate study, I'd say the biggest change for me was that in my final year, I was predominantly just applying for graduate programs and going for interviews or assessment centers the entire time. So like the final year was literally split halfway when it came to in terms of like number of hours spent to studying, and at the same time trying to secure a graduate role after I graduate. Or if you want to like start your own company or like venture out, like focusing on that stuff more rather than like experimenting as you would in your bachelor's. I would also say the like one more thing that I really did in my graduate study was networking, and that is actually how I got my role at Accenture and WSP was networking. Going like, so University of Melbourne really offers a wide plethora of options when it comes to networking and being able to kind of venture out into the industry to see like how the actual industry works and really try to put yourself in those shoes to see if you would really like to work at that specific place or not. So yeah, I feel like that's a really great starting point as well.
Fantastic, thank you. Pamela, would you like to comment on those things? Tips for success and differences?
Mm-hmm. I think first, I totally agree with what Kapil said. I think the key difference between undergrad study and graduate study is the first is a depth of knowledge. So over my undergrad study, there were a lot of breadth subjects, electives you can choose from. Basically, it allows students with the flexibility to really explore and find what you really like. But however, after I worked for 2 years, I decided to return and do a graduate study. So I found it is more career focused. It's like you found what you want to do and what you want to develop in the long term, and you focus on it. So it's like more career preparation during grad study. And basically what I did was really over the last year, which is the first year of my undergraduate study, like last year, 2019, I participated a lot of networking events and a lot of volunteering both on campus and off campus to really build up my resume and build up my professional knowledge. So then I used the second year of my graduate study, so which is this year, to look for graduate jobs, graduate programs. So these 2 years really helped me to shape my academic goals and professional goals. Yeah.
Fantastic, thank you. And it sounds like it's very, it's not just sort of an afterthought to apply for a job and hope you get the first one. What we've heard from both of you is that you have to be very systematic and persistent, and you'll get knockbacks, but you just keep going for it. And yeah, fantastic. Nadine.
Yeah, I agree with both Kapil and Pamela. My undergraduate experience was kind of, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was kind of indecisive between either studying architecture or civil engineering. I guess also between all the stress of being in a new country and university, I got to try the breadth subjects, which I think was a real advantage. One I got to do was Australia in the wine world, and I got to learn Australia through wine. And so that was fun. That also took a bit of the seriousness out of studying, because yeah, engineering and architecture and making big decisions is really stressful sometimes. So yeah, that was a good way to also learn about my other interests. And when I finally honed in on doing civil engineering, like you said, Pamela and Kapil, it's career driven, it's specialized. You really get to focus on what you like and find out if that is what you want to do. There are other ways to develop your professional career as well. I partook in the Graduate Students Association LEAD program, which taught all about leadership, and that was really memorable for me. And I also found that out through networking and making friends in different places. And it's also how I ended up with the role I am at now. And it was through volunteering, knowing someone through there. So it kind of everyone you know, I feel as if graduate study is basically about nurturing relationships, getting to know as many people as you can, and really putting yourself out there, both professionally and personally.
Fabulous. Thank you. David, would you got any tips for graduate study from the other side, from the side of the teacher?
The teacher side, well, look, I'd say that all your academics are really keen for our students to do as well as you possibly can. And so what we want our students to do is to make use of all the resources that we've got available to them. And one of the key things is don't get behind. Hit the ground running. Really hit and put in the time right from week one, and then move forward. Okay, but if you are struggling, then reach out and ask for help. Okay, whether it's from a tutor who might be assigned to the subject or the lecturer. You know, I'm always very, very happy to talk to my students if they've got any issues. So please reach out if you're having trouble there. But something the Dean said I thought was really valuable here too about networking. And normally I'd say if you look around the classroom, we can't quite do that now, but the people in your class are going to be leaders of industry in the future. And so this is the time to begin to open up your professional networks, get to know people, because a student who's also enrolled in this subject might become CEO of a major company. I'm sure they will. So do think about establishing your professional networks right from now, because yes, I'm an old thing. I've been around for a long time, but I know CEOs of companies now, or even former CEOs and others in great positions. And if I needed to, I could pick up the phone or send them an email. And it's all about making those connections. And that's something that you can do in the Melbourne School of Engineering, because we've got such talented students.
Thank you, David. Now, Katie has appeared on the screen magically. I think that means she has a question.
I do. So we've just sort of touched on how important networking is, how on a normal day you'd be surrounded by all these people in a classroom. What tips does everybody have, or maybe David and Jamie have, for networking now that everything's virtual? So are there, from our students, are there clubs? From our academics, are there forums? What's the best thing for our incoming students to know?
Can I start, Jamie? I'm going to say that we have some in every subject. There should be workshops or tutorials where students can come along. Come along. That's where you'll meet other students who enrolled in the same subjects, and you have the opportunity to meet people and see them there and possibly participate. Talk amongst yourselves around how to solve problems. Volunteer to try to answer questions. So make the most of the facilities, but we'll be back face-to-face teaching, if not not in this semester, but I'm sure in the future, and you'll be able to make contact then.
And
But
what
I'll
about
leave it to the
online?
others to talk about clubs.
And doing it online, I think especially, is that,
yeah,
it'd be interesting to think whether you could maintain those networking opportunities or still have sessions online. It might be most relevant to Pamela, is that right? Because Nadine, you weren't studying with us in this last semester, is that right?
Yes, I wasn't studying in the last semester. This is before COVID happened, by the way. I just decided I needed to have a bit of a break, and then I was like, whoa! But I've still tried to really be a part of the student experience. I know socially we have the social breakouts online. So it's essentially you just log in and they put you in a room with 4 random people that's also on campus. And you play games, you do trivia, you get to know each other. And, it's kind of funny because there's that much opportunity for me to like bump into them on the street or even on campus when we are back on campus. So I feel as if it was a really wonderful way to still be on campus but virtually and meet new people.
Thank you. Pamela, did you have anything to add?
Yeah. I can definitely add on that. So at the start of COVID-19, I found to be honest, it was hard to network. But gradually, I found all the other organizations, they went virtually too. So not only students, like they have to study online, people have to work online and organize events online. So actually there are a lot of online workshops and other sessions. So one of the things I found is first, University of Melbourne provided a lot of online workshops. Even for your fitness or academically, there are a lot of online workshops. Also, I think one of the approach or strategy I took to network is first, it's a very good time for us to prepare probably our LinkedIn profile or resume. So get your networking tools ready. And then I actually apply for those jobs. So for me, graduate positions are relevant. Maybe for some other students, internship might be relevant for you. So what I did was I just applied as many as I can, of course, after looking for whether it's a right fit for me. So as long as I like the company, I like the company culture, and also it's a it's a relevant role, I'll apply for it. Then what will happen is the HR team will actually contact you. So whether you are successful or not, you are already networking with the industry. So I think that's very powerful. So the result matters, like whether you get an offer or not, but what we learn from that is also the network you have. So after I approached to an HR, we had a conversation, I usually go to LinkedIn and send them a connection request. That's how you make connections with the industry. Of course, there are a lot of like online workshops. As I said, I found during COVID-19, it's very important to look after our mental health as well. So University of Melbourne, I think I approached to the CAPS team, which is the counseling and psychological services. So they offer free online workshops. So I talked to one of the counselor. Then I shared with my stress and my concerns over the COVID-19. And I network with those mental health professionals. That's also a way to network with other people. I think networking isn't always about get a job or meet someone who is like important or someone will affect your career. It can be just like friends or even like just random network, because you will never know the person you meet might be helpful for you in the future. And sometimes we just want to really make friends and talk to people and just try to interact. Yeah.
Okay, we've talked a lot about networking being really, really important. I mean, we often hear about employability skills, and people talk about, teamwork and communication being, also equally important or even more important than the technical skills and things. But what I'm interested in what the key employability skills students should work on, and how you kind of work on them, or how you would show that you're a good communicator or that you're good at teamwork, and what it even means in the first place. So yeah, I don't know if Nadine would like to talk about that one.
Yep. Funny you say that, actually, because today at work, someone actually mentioned that we all come from different nationalities and different places and backgrounds. In my workplace, I work with people who are from, I think we have 7 different type of nationalities in the place that I work with, and we're a small team, like team of 25. And one thing that's really big is learning how to manage people's expectations and also work as a team, bringing out the best in people, even if there's something that you don't like, and not letting that get the better of them or the better of the situation, and picking your battles, really. So yeah, I think in the workplace that has seriously been a big thing, playing people towards their strengths, and learning to encourage them. And again, it comes back to being a good team player and listening, and trying to empathize with people when things do get tough, and really putting yourself in their shoes. And that has also been true in university. You end up in a random group with people from different nationalities, different backgrounds. And again, you can't pick the people you work with. You just enter a job and there they are. And you need to work within that group. So the same thing with university. When you're in a group that you don't know anyone, you just have to quickly get to know them, and play each other to each other's strengths, and really become a cohesive team, and put your differences aside. So teamwork is really the #1 thing for me personally that I've learned, and open and honest communication. No one's going to know you're struggling unless you say you're struggling. Or if there's something you need help with, there's no shame in asking for help. I think anyone is very welcome when willing to offer a helping hand if it's been asked directly. So yes, that's the key things that I've learned from university, and seen it actually play out in the workplace has been really funny. So damn it, they always say that and I don't believe them, but here it is. So yeah. That's fun.
I always find that quite interesting, right? Because it's this thing that we hear, teamwork is so important from industry, but it is one of the things that I know is not always super popular with students, the amount of group work that we have, because it isn't easy. And I suppose the more you can see that as part of the learning experience, not just the assignment that you're doing together and the mark that you get for it, but the actual struggles that you might have working as a group, and understanding that, if you see it as part of the learning, then maybe you'll be in a much better position. Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely a whole a whole learning system in university. You learn about yourself, you learn about others, and how to deal with stress and deadlines, and yeah, it's great.
Yeah. Kappa, did you have any comments along the, I guess it was the broader employability skills and the way you can work on those sorts of things?
Yeah, definitely. One thing that really came to my mind when you said employability was LinkedIn. So I just want to share one experience. My first internship that I got within the sustainability sector was through texting people or messaging people on LinkedIn. So I feel like LinkedIn is a really powerful tool whereby you can kind of, and this is true even when you're studying virtually or working on studying on campus as well. So LinkedIn really is a really great tool when it comes to kind of presenting yourself to employers and people who are in a position to employ students and graduates as well. So when I first got my internship through LinkedIn, I was working at a company called Lucid Consulting, and the person who was kind of my supervisor over there, he actually recommended me to go to WSP as well, and that's how I actually got my graduate role over here as well. So that just kind of shows that how powerful LinkedIn can be in terms of portraying your best qualities and everything. So I feel like moving forward, students are especially coming in this semester and working, studying offline, they can really hone their skills when it comes to being professional and showing their best selves on LinkedIn as well, because that's going to be the place where people from HR or people who are looking for students or fresh graduates are going to be contacting you as well. So I feel like students can kind of work on that too.
Fantastic. I wouldn't mind jumping to thinking about online learning and in the actual subjects. So I think this one will be for Pamela from the student side, and then for David from the teacher side about online. So maybe we start with Pamela about how was it actually having to do lectures and tutorials and all of those sorts of things online?
I think at the very beginning, I think it was definitely less interactive because you can't really be in a physical environment with everyone, and a lot of people like just watch the recordings, or at home you feel comfy and relaxed. It's not really like a professional or academic place to study. So what I found was very useful is actually, instead of like wearing your pajamas, just put on your casual, like normal, like clothes like you wear to uni, and really set up a nice workplace for yourself. Will be very motivating for you to feel like you are in a study space.
Can you tell my son that, please, Pamela? I'm going to go and get him because he doesn't get out of his dressing gown. He wakes up 5 minutes before school in his dressing gown, doesn't get out of it all day. I'm going to bring him in here and introduce him to you, Pamela. He needs some lessons.
And also, I think another thing I found was like when I was studying online, I feel like sometimes you do forget which day it is, like Monday, Tuesday, because everything was online, and sort of like your life now is mixed with like your family is around you and you are studying. So I feel like it's a very good time actually for me to practice those self-control and self-learning skills. And I think that's very important, and I see that not an obstacle but an opportunity. So because say now, as international students or local students in Australia, we will be a generation with mobility. So we will work with people all around the world, and we will go virtually as always in the future when you have a meeting with overseas colleagues or with an overseas client. So actually studying online and interact with professionals and your peers online is a very powerful tool now for students to develop. So I kind of like from the beginning I was nervous, but after I adapted to this situation, I saw that as an opportunity instead.
Fantastic. And what about you, David, from the side of having to all of a sudden do all your teaching online? How was that?
Well, certainly certainly quite a challenge, but nonetheless, I mean, we've all adopted different takes on how we can do this. So for me, I would pre-record 3 lectures a week and load them up on particular days, but then make myself available for 4 hours a week for any student who wanted to come in and have a discussion. So certainly I learnt how to be operating 3 screens, one looking at my students, one sharing files, and another screen where I could write on it like a blackboard. And so I could give a mini lecture on whatever topic that the students came up with. And it was a little bit finicky at first, but I got over that and was able to develop a technique where I could work live with the students, doing what they wanted to do. Now, I also, during the semester, I've recorded over 100 mini lectures. So supplementary to the main lectures, where if a student doesn't know how to do a problem, they can go and get one of these mini lectures that might last anywhere from 2 minutes to 10 minutes that explains how to do the calculation. The other thing that I used to always say to my class.
Whoop. Can anyone else hear David? We can't hear you, David.
Okay, you can hear me now. Sorry about that. The other thing that I did for students with for their exams is what I used to say is come in having done an exam, a past exam, I'll mark it for you, give you feedback and get an idea about how you've gone. Now what I do is I say to the students, do a past exam, scan your answers, email it to me. I'll then mark it and comment it, scan it back, email it back to you, and then we'll have a meeting and we'll go and we can identify the misconceptions you've got. And that proved to be incredibly useful for students to unlock those misconceptions that they might have had. So yeah, a bit of work, and I've certainly know how to Zoom and do all these different technologies now, but I think it's worked out well in the end. And I always dress well as if I was going to work, just like Pamela said. I put on the business shirt and I'm ready to go, even though I'm still at home.
And that business shirt, if you've ever known David, is usually bright red, bright orange, or bright yellow.
Absolutely.
Now, Katie has appeared again, which means she has a question.
Following on from learning online, what's the timing of lectures and classes, given students might be in their home country or interstate in a different time zone? So I'm not sure who wants to answer that one.
Well, I'll just say that if it's a pre-recorded lecture, I'll post them normally around about 8 o'clock on a Monday, Wednesday or Friday, and then the students can watch them at their leisure. If it's a workshop, then they're normally in the later morning or afternoon. And so if students want to join live, depending on which time zone they're in, they may have to get up a little earlier. All those tutorials, though, even though I'm giving them live to whoever turns up, they're all recorded. So students, if they miss them, they sleep in or what have you, they can catch up with them later.
And I guess in the bigger subjects, there would often be multiple slots, and hopefully that people could select the slots that suit them in terms of their time zone. But maybe Pamela has some other thoughts on how what was live and synchronous, and you had to be there, and you know how much was sort of recorded.
Yeah, I think definitely for the subjects I took last semester, everything was recorded, so it was very convenient. Even I have some other like household stuff or other things to do, I can still watch them at a later stage. The importance is just like you don't forget to watch it. So I always put it on Google Calendar to record, like I have a lecture or tutorial that I missed, I need to make up that one. And also sometimes if you are afraid like you miss the interaction during the workshop, because the online discussion board is always live, and all the academic staff always monitor those discussion board. So I post questions on the discussion board to ask my peers and the academic staff as well. So that's definitely not a problem for me.
Great.
Fantastic. And another question, where or who do students speak to about going on exchange? I imagine it looks a little bit different at the moment, but if they're doing a 2 or 3 year program and they want to start planning, how can they do that?
Did anyone do exchange? The students here?
I did an exchange in my undergrad study. That was 3 years, and I did go to a exchange study session for graduate students. So because 2 years are relevant short, depends on your course and the university you want to exchange with. So I really encourage students to do a lot of research well beforehand. I'll say at least a year ago, even before you start your degree. You can just go on Google like exchange student UniMelb. Then you can check all the universities like Melbourne Uni cooperate with rest of the world. One thing I noticed is like there are some universities, they are only open for undergrad exchange students. There are of course still a few like universities like they accept exchange students from graduate level, but they are limited, and because you have to transfer your credits, right, the course or subject credits from the other university to Melbourne Uni, so you really have to talk with your course or subject coordinator to see whether the subject you want to take actually match with the subjects in the other university you want to exchange for. So I think it's definitely possible, and you can go for the exchange probably second semester, first year, or first semester, second year. And there are of course a lot of like flexibilities going on, but my advice will be just plan ahead, really like a year before you want to go, and talk to the service staff at Stop One and your course coordinator. Yeah.
And if I may, Pamela, add to that, you're going to meet your course coordinator at that session in late July when we have the just the week before semester begins. And so they're key people to know. And if you say, I'd love to go and study in the UK, for example, they will know the universities where we've had success in sending students to, and we've already done the matching of subjects. So they're key people to get to know.
I think what Pamela mentioned, I just wanted to add one small thing, was that I think what Pamela mentioned was really important in terms of forward planning, because if you're looking to go on exchange in your second year, first semester, or anytime in your second year, you need to also consider your capstone project, because the capstone project that you might want to go for might run for the entire year. So that might involve you extending your study as well. So yeah, as just one thing, yeah, as Pamela mentioned, you should really be forward planning if you want to go on exchange.
Great point.
Fantastic. And everybody on the panel has participated in an internship. So can you touch on how you went about organising that? Did you have assistance from the Melbourne School of Engineering staff or Stop On staff? Yeah, that's my final question, I think, for the moment.
Sure, I'll give that a go. So I actually did. So Melbourne Uni offers internship subjects both in your bachelor's and master's degree, and I actually did both of them. So I'll touch upon my master's degree internship. So I sourced my internship through the internship subject that was also offered in your master's degree. I'm not entirely sure if you're just starting with business that you might be offered that subject or not. But there is a lot of sources. Like Melbourne Uni kind of gives you an entire list of internships that are available in the industry right now, and that they really help you guide through the entire process of how to apply, how to make your resume look good, how to improve your LinkedIn profile as well. And they kind of like serve you all the internship on a silver platter as well, so which is really good, especially if you're looking for a grad role. Because in my specific case, as I mentioned, my internship led to my graduate role as well. So it's in terms of internships, it's going to be really important if you start early and plan ahead.
So my internship story was a bit different. So I actually found it on the job search board. And so I've applied through Unimalb's job search, where various other positions are available, not just internships, but casual positions, or like, you can even find people who want to know how to translate or babysit or do au pairing. It's a really good function that the University of Melbourne has available for all of their students. So I found my internship through there. However, to prepare for it, I actually made use of the University of Melbourne's Stop 1 services, who helped with they gave me mock interviews. So that was kind of really helpful, because I'm a really nervous interviewee. So they kind of just asked me some questions, put me in the mindset of, okay, this is an interview. How could I improve just with what I'm trying to articulate, or what is something better to highlight? How to answer questions like, what is your biggest weakness, and what is your strengths, and or who are you? I don't know, like, don't ask me this. So yeah, it was really helpful to calm the nerves, especially when you're going for your first interview. It's high stakes. You want to feel confident, and that really helped build up that confidence, going through the mock interviews, having them help me with my resume. And I ended up getting an internship through that. And again, bringing back to networking, I met someone through there that knew someone else that gave me a good reference, and now I'm in the job I'm in. So I think that internships is a great way to put your foot in the door, see what you like, see what you don't like, and also to just develop your professional and personal relations really. So yeah.
Fantastic. Very good. Pamela, I see you've unmuted. Did you want to add?
Yeah, I can just quickly add on what Kapil and Nadine said. So actually, I didn't have an internship during my Master of IT degree. I actually got one in my undergrad degree. So I want to give some advice who couldn't find an internship through whether self-sourced or university-sourced one. So if you couldn't get an internship, the advice would be like participate in other volunteering events, which is relevant to your field of study, or even some case competitions. That's how I secure a grad job, even without an internship, if you are a bit unlucky. So what I did is I participated in those, one of the IT challenge competition at MYOB, and our team got the first place out of all the teams across Australia. So that's a very strong plus point for your resume. So if you can't get an internship, just build on your resume through other activities. That's what I want to add on. Yeah.
Fantastic, thank you. Now, Katie's disappeared. I'm not sure if we were meant to finish by now. Are we meant to finish, Katie?
We are, but we still have quite a few questions, so I'm
Oh.
trying to condense them down. Is it okay if everybody has 5 more minutes to? Yep, thank you.
Do you want me to ask a filler question while you're consolidating, or are you ready?
Yes, please. Just one question while I consolidate
One
down.
question, one that I always ask. Favorite subject of all time. Now let's make it your favorite master's subject of all time, and why was it your favorite subject? Let's start with Nadine. I think I'm not ready to go. Well, whoever's ready to go. David, you're not allowed to say the subject that you teach, unfortunately. Who would like to lead us off on this favorite subject of all time and why? Capel's ready to go. He's unmuted.
I'd say my favorite subject was capstone project. I know a lot of students are not going to be saying that, but my favorite subject was actually my capstone project. And it was just because of like, so you're working on a project so I'll just give a brief overview of what capstone projects are for those who don't know. You're basically working on your final year project in your Master's of Engineering degrees, whereby you're working on a single project that you can kind of come up with yourself, or the university kind of gives you a list of that you can choose from. And you're working on that specific project throughout the year. You have to give presentations on it. Throughout the year, you have to submit written reports. And that for me was really one of my most favorite subjects. I won't delve too much into detail, but my project was around using deorbiting CubeSats, which are small satellites, for disaster relief. So it was a really interesting project as well.
Fantastic. Has anyone else got a favourite subject they want to talk about before Katie jumps in? Oh, Pamela's ready. Good.
Yeah.
And Nadine's ready too.
Oh, Nadine can
Go,
go
Pamela.
if like, okay.
You go, Pamela.
My favorite subject is actually also my capstone subject. It's called Technology Innovation Project. And I believe it's a new capstone subject for students from Master of IT. And actually, we only got 2 groups of students enrolled for that subject. So it was kind of like a very VIP environment for us. And the interactions was really good. So because it's called an innovation subject, so actually we will act as startup entrepreneurs to think about a project, to work on it by ourselves. So the project I did was we created an app prototype to target micro to small businesses in Australia and in the retail industry. And what was very interesting is like, it's not as technical as other IT subjects you would normally encounter too. So you can actually go to the market, talk to your customers and interact and really be customer centric and to understand the customer needs. So I found that was very valuable for IT students because technical skills is not everything. You also have to understand your client's needs, understand those soft skills you need. So I really recommend that subject.
Fantastic, thank you. Nadine?
It's funny, Pamela, mine is actually very similar to that. It's not the capstone though, but it was creative, innovative engineering. When I was doing it, it was still a really new subject. I really enjoyed it because it wasn't engineering focused. It was more about human-centric design and also learning about, to give you context, we had industry projects and each one would try and get into one of these projects that was most important to them. Mine was sustainable buildings. And so we worked with an industry project on how to market this and getting to know what was the pain points and what was the good things about it, and really how to listen to the customer. And as you said, Pamela, engineering is not always about the technical side, it's about the people side. Otherwise, you're just going to be sitting in the back all the time. So it's really how to design and innovate according to your customers' needs, and actually create something lasting. And for me, that was I really loved that subject. That was good. It was, yeah, good stuff all around. So I recommend anyone to take that. It was really good.
Fantastic. Now, Katie's here. She must have another question.
Yes, so we have lots of questions again about the online learning, the platforms we're using. David, I know you mentioned that you pre-record, but is that across the board? Yeah, so just a little, I guess everybody will learn a bit more at orientation, but what platforms and how do students know about this, I guess?
Okay, so let me just say that some of my colleagues actually do present their lectures live at a particular timetabled time, and they are recorded. And so that allows interaction with the class more easily. It's a little bit more difficult sometimes to do some of the stuff I do, which is embedding videos and running different things, but there are different styles. Okay, basically the platform we use is our university system Canvas, and then we'll have videos that are there that you can just click on it. So it's all web-based, and students can access the material there. And the recordings are generally made using Zoom or something like that, so that if you can log on to this session today, you'll be able to log on to the workshops, the tutorials during the semester.
Perfect, thank you. And also we have a question, so there's been a couple of times capstone subject has been mentioned. So just a 30-second, what is a capstone project?
Okay, if I can cut in here, Jamie. Capstone project is where we bring together all the threads of everything that a student might have covered throughout their program, and so it draws those together in quite usually an open-ended and quite challenging problem that allows you to integrate all the material that you've learnt over your 2 or 3 years with us to deliver something, whether it's a chemical plant design or whether it's a guitar playing robot or whatever it is. You get to bring all your knowledge together, all the different pieces into a single build or a single design. That's generally what the capstone project's about.
Yep.
Jamie was the one who supervised the project on the guitar playing robot, if I remember correctly.
Boy, did it sound good. Woo!
Fantastic. So we still have a pretty captive audience, but I don't want everybody to be here all night, because I know when I get the opportunity to pick the brains of our panelists and our academics and our alumni, that I could sit here all night. But I think it's probably time that we let everybody go have dinner and get back to their evening. So I'd just like to thank you all so much for your time. Also, thank you to the attendees for coming along. If we didn't answer your question, please don't hesitate to email us. You would have got the invitation from one of the team that popped up before, potentially myself. So feel free to send any questions that way as well. And also don't forget to come along to your orientation, meet your course coordinator, because they'll be able to answer those questions as well. We have a lot of student ambassadors, so you know, they've given up their time to be here tonight, but I'm sure that if you have any questions for them, we can arrange to put you in touch as well. So please don't hesitate to do that. But I'll just give you a round of applause to everybody on the panel. Thank you so much for being here this evening. And I'll remind everybody that it was recorded, so if there was anything that you missed, you can definitely come back to it. But Jamie has just one more slide before we head off.
Is it there? Well, this could be your slide too, Katie. This was your next steps, your what's next.
It's true.
And so I think you've probably covered most of this already. Yeah, go to Get Started at Melbourne, accept your offer, enroll in your subjects, submit your timetable, and of course attend that orientation session that David spoke about before as well on Monday the 27th of July. Go to Stop One for help. There's a COVID-19 advice page for all of the updates. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you.
Yep, good luck.
Yeah, good luck for semester 2. Thank you,
Yeah.
everybody. Bye.
Bye.